All right, man. Well, we are back with another episode of Granted. Welcome, everybody. This episode will actually release 2 weeks from when we record it, but
Okay.
I appreciate you for being here. I'm here with someone that I consider an inspiration, someone that I look up to, and someone that I met recently through Project Inspire. So I'm going to let him introduce himself.
Wow, that was a big intro
Yeah,
there. I mean,
yeah.
my name is Tyler Porter. I am a senior here at the University of Tennessee, Knoxville. I'm a business analytics major. Like Grant talked, we met each other through Project Inspire. So I'm excited to tell you a little bit about me today, but also just kind of talk through wherever this takes us and see where we go. So
Yeah,
thank you for
absolutely.
having me. I'm excited to be here.
Yeah, thank you so much for
What a
taking
warm
the
intro.
time. Yeah, I like to introduce the guests off their, I don't know, the podcast that I take inspiration from, funny enough, is Logan Paul's podcast, where
Okay.
they get a bunch of different, like, that's what I grew up watching, and he always does the intro, like, he kind of speaks for
Yeah.
what the guest is involved in, so I hope
There you
that
go.
was good.
No, you did a great job.
But yeah, let's get into it, man. So to start off, could you just tell everybody kind of what you're involved in on campus? Because I know you got a lot going on. Like, it was hard to even schedule this because you're busy,
Yeah,
so.
let's see. I'll kind of do I can start the academic stuff and then get to kind of more of the social stuff or like kind of the club stuff.
Okay.
So I'm in a couple different honors programs here, and so they're real close knit communities. But I'm in Haslam Scholars, Smith Global Leadership Scholars, Melton Scholars. So that's university level, college level, and then department level.
Wow.
So just trying to all do different things, some leadership engagement in there, but always just trying to learn different things. And it's fun because you get to meet different people through all the different programs.
Yeah.
I have a part-time job here. It's with
Okay.
the SEC Network.
Okay.
So I've broadcasted. I had to do a project the other day, and we had to assemble data about ourselves. So I know the number off the top of my head. I've worked over the last 3.5 years. I've worked 54 games
Holy
that have been
crap.
on either SEC Network Plus all the way up to ESPN.
Oh my gosh.
So pretty much every sport that UT does, I've worked a game for. We don't broadcast football, but I've worked the Jumbotron for football. So I'm pretty involved in that. Project Inspire, the College of Business's podcast, we're both involved in. But I enjoy doing that, and I've worked on that since I was a freshman. So it's been a long time working
Yeah.
on there, and now we're getting younger people to replace us. So involved there. I'm trying to think of other things I'm involved in right now. Classes are real heavy right now, so it's working around those. But then I've got just a couple other like odds and ends. Some of the stuff I've done in my past, I don't necessarily do right now.
Mm-hmm.
Either they were short term or they just kind of phased out in and out. But I've done a bunch of different clubs on campus and a bunch of different organizations and kind of committees and stuff like that. So I'm always looking for ways to just meet people and be involved.
Yeah, I think that's incredible. I didn't know that you were part of 3 different.
I know, it's crazy.
Dude, that's unreal.
I know, it was too big of a flex to start out with. But.
No, that immediately puts you at the top of the guest list right now. Now
Oh,
you've
no.
set yourself apart. But, between everything that I want to touch on that balance because you are a part of so much at one time.
Mm-hmm.
How do you strike that balance between a heavy course load, but then also you've got the GLS program, you've got the Melton Scholars, and then what was the third one?
Haslam Scholar,
Yep,
GLS, and Melton
So,
Scholar, yeah.
how do you even begin to balance all that? Because I know they have a lot of, not even assignments, but workload for those programs as well.
Yeah, I think my biggest key to and it's not even a good balance question because I can't say I have work and I have fun. I make the work fun.
Okay.
I enjoy the things that I learn in there. I enjoy learning, so that makes anything I'm doing toward learning a lot more easier to kind of palate. So if I can get into a room and say, okay, I'm going to learn something in here, if I can kind of frame my mind to be like, all right, we're trying this new thing, we're going to do this, I can always continue to have fun in that. And I almost play a game with myself of
Yeah.
oh, I'm going to outlearn myself today. And so I think that to me, it wasn't necessarily separation of the worlds. It's I got to have fun in my work. So when I'm doing classwork, I am really fulfilled now doing a lot of homework. I've had a busy semester of homework specifically, and it's just been a lot of things. But I'm loving what I'm doing. I'm
Right.
all of these different projects, and a lot of them are group projects now, and so it's working with different people. I'm learning a ton, and I'm enjoying it. I go to bed tired every night, but I'm still enjoying it. And so I think it's finding some people it really works to kind of separate and have that distance. But for me, I find that I'm very fulfilled by just enjoying what I do. And so if I'm struggling to enjoy something, that's when it's really the most difficult. That's when it takes the most out of me.
Yeah.
But for me, the balance was like finding ways to frame the busy.
Absolutely.
And so like finding the best way to like, okay, if I'm gonna have a packed schedule today, I'm gonna try and I like to be funny, so I'm like I'm gonna make a joke in each of my meetings that's gonna like make somebody else's day better. That
Yeah.
could be a goal, or it's like I'm gonna learn at least one thing from all of these. I'm a huge note taker, so I like write everything.
Okay.
I'm not a good journaler, but I'm a great note taker.
Okay.
So I write down everything I hear, and just have it all. And so then I can go back through and be like, man, I learned this, and like connecting the dots and like synthesizing information is fun for me.
Yeah.
So it makes it easy to balance when you're just enjoying it. Because then I'm like, I just go from fun thing to fun thing. Like I'm like, there's no need to be like, oh, I have to do this. I'm like, it's all fun.
The whole thing is fun.
Yeah, everything's fun, and so you like just keep going down the line. It's a little bit harder in your freshman sophomore year because you're like some of these are general education credits, but even then there's and like some of the things that's kind of like not busy work, but it's just like it's like step A.
Yeah.
And so you got to do like step A and B to get to step D and E or
Right.
Z. And so sometimes it's kind of understand the like trust the process kind of thing, you know. Not that phrase necessarily worked for Philly, but it's kind of a little bit of like sometimes it's trust the process, and so it's like I might not enjoy it today, but I think it'll pay off later.
Okay.
One thing on that, my band director in high school used to always say, like his word of the 4 years was it was always like delayed gratification. If you could do something that it's going to be hard in the moment and you might not enjoy it in the moment, but if you can delay that gratification, it'll be even more rewarding. So it's be willing to put yourself through hard things in order to get to a better end result. So you got to learn. Some people, it's just like, let me do the hard. For me, it's like, I'm going to make the hard fun.
Yeah.
And then that makes it easier, but I can also still get a big reward at the end. So I'm like, I'll push the hard.
What is that big reward that you think you're chasing? Like in terms of, because you've talked about, I mean, you're in all these programs, and I'm sure it's hard sometimes to find the joy in them. But what is that delayed gratification leading to for you?
You know, sometimes it's big delay of like, oh, I want this job or stuff like that. But I don't really have like a first job that I want. I'm applying to first jobs, so if anybody's hiring, I'd be interested. But it's not like I have like I have to do this path to this path. Like I used to have a very like linear thinking of things, and like in high school I had a very like big map. My freshman year I wrote into a notebook, I want to do this, and I got like 80% of them right, and that was enough. And I worked the middle 2 years to get that 80% done. But I got to college and I was like, now I don't necessarily have like the 5-year plan. I have a really good like 30-year. Eventually I want to own my own business and I want to have a big happy family. And so I'm like, I can do little things today that kind of go to that, but like those aren't accomplished overnight.
Right.
And so it's kind of like now I'm like, there's a lot of different paths you can take to do it. So I try and find a way to, everything is either like building a skill or like either personally or like technically. And so I kind of just frame things on that. If I'm building, I don't necessarily have to know exactly what I'm building toward,
Right.
but I think eventually if you put enough things together, you'll make a tower or you'll make something tall.
Yeah.
So I don't think you always have to have, for me, you don't always have to have an endpoint, but you can build towards something and then be ready to capture a new, like when a door opens, you're ready to seize your opportunity.
Right.
Kind of you make your own luck.
Yeah.
And so sometimes it's just be ready for the opportunity, but you might not know what that opportunity is.
Right. I love the way you phrase that too, because you continue to build and you don't know what you're building for, but you're going to be prepared for whatever it is.
Yeah.
You keep stacking those accolades in all these different categories. At some point, like all of that's going to pay off for something. You
And
might
not even
know what it
accolades
is, but-
always. Sometimes it's just like things you learn. Like
Yeah.
I just like being curious. I like, if I get a little bit of free time, I'll go like read about history or read about this, or like I like sports a lot too. So I'll just go run through statistics. And like sometimes I like to build like I like to use my like class knowledge of data modeling, and I'll be like, all right, I'm gonna build a thing of like predicting the college football playoff or like
That's so
something like
cool.
that just for fun.
Yeah.
But I'm like, it's just learning and doing, and I'm like, does it pay off today? No, but If somebody calls me and says, "Hey, we want you to do this job," then I'm like, "Oh, I have this that it can work, or this that can work, or this that can work." And so, I think you don't always know what opportunities or what the future holds, but that doesn't mean you can't be prepared for it, because
Absolutely.
prepared doesn't necessarily mean exactly ready for it. I mean, think about like technology, right? So we've got these computers and all this stuff, or like AI.
Yeah.
Nobody really knew what that was going to look like 15 years ago.
Right.
But you could be really good at coding and, process engineering and all these things like that, and be prepared to take advantage of the AI revolution.
Okay.
As an entrepreneur, as a business person, like, you may not have known how to build AI, but if you're ready to learn and you just are constantly trying to learn new things, you can take advantage of situations like that, or just whatever new things come up. You don't have to know that they're coming, but you can just be ready to grab them.
Yeah, absolutely. The other thing I wanted to touch on that you mentioned was the thing about delayed gratification.
Mm-hmm.
That's something that my therapist touched on a lot. And recently, when I went back home, it had been probably over a year since I had talked with him, and I just
Yeah.
spoke with him outside of the therapist realm, just person to person, and he was telling me just the importance of delayed gratification, just in life in general as well. And I think that what we talked about was kind of the struggle of this generation, our generation,
Yeah.
not this generation, but for us to have that delayed gratification. Everything is on a day-to-day, minute-to-minute basis, especially with the media. So I don't know. How would you recommend someone else kind of develops that same attitude towards working for something in the long term?
That's a tough question, and I don't have all the answers to it. I mean, I'm just like everybody else. Like, sometimes when I don't get a text back within 5 minutes, I'm like,
Yeah,
why? Like, they should have my response immediately, and it's
right.
like, that's not realistic. Just as sometimes I get a text and I'm like, I'm not going to respond to this for a little bit. Like, it goes both
It
ways.
happens,
But
yeah.
I'm mad when they do it to me, not when I do it to them. I think that the biggest thing is about framing the problem, and really being realistic about, um, if you want to grow. I think it's, if you're fine with homeostasis where you are,
Hmm.
then it's very easy to just go after the quick fix. But if you're wanting to put work in, if you're wanting to, even without a target, if you're wanting to go towards something, then I think that you have to be comfortable, which we were joking about this earlier with somebody, but the phrase like be comfortable being uncomfortable,
Yeah,
because it's like, well, then aren't you being comfortable? And so it's, find value in uncomfort was what he was trying to say, to reframe it, which I think works too.
yeah,
So if you can find value in, like, ooh, this was difficult and I might not be able to get this finished in one go, I'll either have to ask for help or find a resource or something like that. I think that the hardest problems to solve are the most rewarding to
mm,
solve. So you have to think a lot about, if you just solve easy problems, you don't get a lot of reward into
right.
it. And so sometimes it's trying to tackle the big problems really helps you get more reward. It's
Yeah,
high risk. It might not work, but it's high reward.
I
So
love that. Okay, that makes a lot of sense.
I'm gonna flip it back to you. What do you find balance in, or how do you try to find balance? What does balance mean to you?
Yeah, I don't know. I feel like balance is the most important thing and also the most challenging thing.
Mm-hmm.
Especially kind of a great example is this week. And you know how this goes. Like, you're busy with a bunch of stuff too, but trying not to let that stress take over your mindset and just take a step back and be like, okay, this is what I need to get done today. So I don't know. Monday, for example, I was solely focused on schoolwork, but I knew I had a podcast with you. I
Mm-hmm.
had another one yesterday, so that was overwhelming me. And then I had a huge interview on Tuesday for Pepsi.
Oh, nice.
And so, like,
Did that go well?
we'll see.
We'll
We'll
talk
see.
about that later.
We'll see. We could touch on it, but just all these things, you can look at a week, and I'm sure your weeks look very similar and probably more crowded. But you look at a week, and sometimes you're like, this is going to be a long one, and
I've had that feeling multiple times. Yeah.
Oh, it's just
You're like, ooh, I'm in for it.
it's brutal, but you have to find. I think I did a good job balancing it at the end of the day, because this is what I love to do,
Mhm.
and I'm getting to do this week. But then I also was able to, get all my work done. I think the other thing too that is important is making sure, what are your priorities. So I'm paying to go here. So school is the first thing, right? And then the podcast can come, and then interviews probably come before that. But balance is all about understanding priorities for me, but
Yeah.
it is important because at the end of the day too, one thing that I found is, man, the last few weeks have just been serious,
Yeah.
just like a lot of very serious stuff. I mean, preparing for interviews and all this schoolwork and exams is just like, I need to find the fun too,
Yeah.
because that's what we're here to do as well, is to have fun.
Yeah.
So that's why I really liked your mindset about making it fun,
Yeah.
right? If you have a
If you
busy
can,
day.
if you can love the process, then well, what do they say? If you enjoy what you do, you never work a day in your life.
Right.
Like, I enjoy, I enjoy learning and trying these different things. And even at internships, I'm like, sometimes I'm like, okay, I don't love this exact thing that I'm doing, but one, if I do it, I can get it done. And
Right.
then two, if I work on it and I do a good job on it, then they'll be like, oh, we can give him stuff. Like,
Right.
I think that part of it too. So,
Yeah, absolutely. And honestly, that reminds me of the next question I wanted to ask you, which is, you have the mindset of making everything fun. You enjoy learning. What does that look like for a professional career for you? Because if you're able to turn anything into fun, or then what does an ideal
yeah.
career look
And
like?
that's the hard part. That's why I'm struggling is I enjoy a lot of things and I
Yeah.
enjoy learning about things. So it's hard for me to become I'm getting over the fear of becoming a specialist. Because at some point I do need to kind of like hone a focus and be really good at not ever, like I like to be kind of a renaissance man too, but I think there's value in being really, really particular in things that really line up with your strengths and
Mm-hmm.
like really capitalizing on those and then filling in the gaps as well. But because I can get interested in a lot of things and I'm always trying to learn, it kind of make it hard to find like the right job because I'm
Mm.
like, oh, there's 100 right
Yeah.
job. Like there's 100 things I could do. So I haven't cracked that one yet. But I think that it's part of my framing on it is like the first four jobs will not they'll matter as far as like can I afford to pay my rent,
Mm-hmm.
and they'll matter of in like am I learning. But beyond that, I'm like my perspective is that those first couple jobs, even if they're all at the same company and I stay there for 30 years, or if they're all four different places in four different continents, I think as long as I'm, covering expenses
Right.
and learning, I think I will be able to get enough out of those different things, and they could all be in different industries. So I try not to worry myself in being like, here's the path. I think it's part of that long term folk
Yeah.
like that long term view versus the short term view. And the long term view says like if you get the skills, it doesn't matter the order and it doesn't matter the way. It's just almost like a checkbox. Did you or
Mm-hmm.
did you not get it? And so
Mm-hmm.
if I'm getting the things I want to learn, then okay, mission accomplished.
I love that. I love that too, because honestly, it puts you at an advantage the way I see it. There is no wrong way to go because you're going to make the best out of it no matter what.
Right.
So then if you don't land that dream job, there's not a dream job for you because you can make it your
Right.
dream job, or it'll lead to your dream job. So I honestly think that mindset works in your favor, even if that feels a little uncertain, which I'm sure it could at sometimes. But
Oh yeah.
that's really cool that
Sometimes it's worse than others, but right now I'm doing pretty good with it.
good. I mean, honestly, I think that's something that I would love to learn from you, is just, and take away from that is, if you can frame that job or that task in a certain way, I mean, the possibilities are endless.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So that's awesome. But I do want to touch on the next topic, which is, it can become a lot more broad now that you've told me everything you're involved with.
Uh-oh.
But I specifically wanted to touch on the GLS program.
Okay, cool.
The first thing that stood out to me immediately after meeting you and then seeing that you were part of that program was that you got accepted, because I tried to get in, and here's what happened. I'll give you the quick backstory. I put so much time into that application. I had my parents help me with the video and everything, and I don't know what I did wrong, but I didn't get an interview, a first round interview, which was really surprising to me because I felt like I definitely had a good enough application to at least earn an interview.
Yeah.
But that was definitely on my 2025 goals. One of the goals was to get accepted into that program. So from someone who's in it, I'm curious what benefits you found from it and what takeaways you have from it, and then we can start with kind of what the application process looked like.
Yeah, well, sorry you didn't make it.
It's okay.
But it's just such a competitive thing. I mean, and I know that my year they had a big number of applications. I know last year was even greater.
Yeah.
So don't take it personal.
Yeah, no.
Just because they have a lot that they go through, and I don't know every bit of their process. But for me, the program has been really, really valuable. I've been able to learn a lot because it was able to really kind of get me a little bit more into the business focus than some of the other things I've done. And so it was a lot of professional development, leadership experience, and then that global perspective.
Okay.
And when you like to learn, then adding like culture as an element of learning totally kind of levels that up because there are so many dimensions of culture and the way we not even just language but like just norms and things like that, and you can get into ethics and you know and practices and all these, like you can get really complicated really quickly. So not to like that's not scary, but it's just like international business is not a straight line. It's about it honestly it teaches you to just be ready to learn because it's like yeah, there's a lot of stuff you don't know about a lot of these things, but you can learn how to learn and you can be prepared on understanding the global context of business. So I always frame the international business part of it of like yeah, you can be, a, brokering trade agreements between, the countries in Asia and the west coast of the U.S. But you can also do international business in opening your own business in your backyard because you might employ someone with an international background. You might import products from internationally. You may have I don't know a register system or something like that. Like there's some level of everything at a business, both the biggest business in the world and the smallest. They're all probably I would bet that almost every business I would bet every business is touched by international business.
Yeah.
And so on that aspect of it, I think it's important to know just understand the complexity. You don't have to know all of it every single moment of every day, but I think if you can be prepared of like how do I have to frame this in a broader context, you can kind of make better business decisions because of that. So
Yeah.
the I kind of laugh at my degree because I have a business analytics major,
Yep.
international business collateral,
Yep.
and then an entrepreneurship minor.
Wow.
And so pulling all three of those together, I'm like I learned the technical skill of the analytics, the data modeling, the data engineering, all these things here. The international business I really kind of see as like the interpersonal. And it's how do you communicate with people, how do you synthesize ideas, and how do you speak with people that don't think like you do.
Right.
Helps really well with the analytics because then you know how to present the data in a meaningful way. And then on the last one of the entrepreneurship, I kind of see like that kind of plays into everything and ties in there of it's the good like it's systems and like the foundations of that. And so you can learn okay, here are the systems I need to start a business, even if it's entrepreneurship like in a company.
Yeah.
Those things are really critical of understanding your market. Like I think that one's more of like this is my like here's my data science stuff, here is my interpersonal skills, and then here's my like business knowledge and like here's how business works. And all three of them together I think tie really nicely into like I'm always ready to learn and like I've the ways to communicate people with information and words and I can talk in the language of business.
Yeah.
And so they all tie together. And so to me getting that international business through the GLS program was really critical. It's always highlighted through the study abroad in London, but it's so much more than that as a program. I mean, you've got 2 years after that you do as well, but that first year, obviously, that study abroad semester is really really special. But the semester before, you get really prepared and really kind of get built up really quickly.
Right.
And so there's a lot of great programs that the college offers that can do a lot of the different things that you can do in GLS. So like you can still study abroad. You can do other honors programs. You can take honors classes. You can do leadership development things. Like there's not, I hate to say it, there's not anything unique from the GLS program on that aspect. The unique thing is the combination of those, and you do them with a group of people that is consistent throughout 3 years. And so the community aspect is really what kind of makes it different than all those other things.
Yeah.
But a strong student like yourself can still leverage those other opportunities and get a lot out of the things without being in the program.
Right.
But I'm a big fan of the program. They've taken care of me and really invested in me over the last 2.5 years. So I'm very thankful. But yeah,
That's amazing. Holy
hopefully
crap.
that wasn't too much all at once.
No,
but.
that was a lot of great information there. And so the focus seems to be on the international kind of perspective on things, right?
Yeah.
I'm curious. The first thing that I want to relate it to is the fact that I went to an IB school. So do you know what that means?
I don't know how to say it, but it's not AP, but it's IB.
International Baccalaureate.
Okay.
And I remember that it's something very similar to what you just said to me is the whole idea of IB is connecting your classes to each other and finding ways to relate what you're learning in one class to another.
Okay.
And what you just said is really, honestly, I think it's a really important thing to know just in general is that if you can relate what you're learning in your business analytics and then apply that to the international business perspective or the entrepreneurship perspective, that's so valuable.
Yeah.
So I didn't expect to bring up IB, but that's what it
But here we
reminded me
are,
of.
yeah.
Yeah, because they just put an emphasis on that of just taking things from one class and applying them to another. I think that's great.
Yeah,
to cross over.
I call that synthesis.
Okay.
I'm sure there's a different word for it, but the greatest thing I ever learned was synthesis like that, of connecting ideas.
Yeah.
And I always will remember this in my sophomore year of high school in my AP World class.
Okay.
The teacher, Miss Gupton, rolled out a giant piece of bulletin board paper.
Okay.
And she had like 6 of them, split us into groups, and she's like, draw a line. We drew a line, and then she had a hat of just slips of paper, and she's like, everybody has to draw 6 or 8, and these details might be a little fuzzy, but this is how my brain remembers it. So if she listens to this, give me a little allowance here. But I remember it because she may have just given us a list of things, but I kind of remember it wasn't everything, but it was from 1815 to 1915. We had to have some list of world events.
Okay.
And they were all over the globe, not really related. So it could be like the Spanish-American War. It could be, Napoleon takes over here. It could be, I'm trying to think of something in, I'm trying not to get too technical on my words, but it's like when the U.S. made diplomatic relations with Japan. Like, you've got all these different stuff across the globe that aren't independently related.
Mm-hmm.
Like the U.S. going to war with the Spanish-American War and the U.S. reaching there aren't one-to-one connected.
Right.
But that was the task, was connect all these things. You can add in whatever elements you want to get from there, but all of these different data points need to connect.
Wow.
And I remember that clicked for me because I could say, well, they were doing this, the motivation was here, and it was the same motivation used at this part. And maybe that the result of this effect led to this action, which then went to this. And so slowly by slowly, we connected all of 100 years of history together across the globe just through cause and effect and kind of like motivation and desires and stuff like that. And it was really fascinating to me to take a step back and be like, all of these things, everything is connected.
Right.
You just might not know it initially. And so finding those connection points is really, really important to me of getting my information. So anytime I can connect things together, that helps it stick. Because if I can relate it to something I know, which you can probably tell I related your connection here to this story,
Right.
because that's how I framed it. And so anytime I can find a connection point to something, one, I'll remember it better, but then two, I'll understand it more.
Yeah, that makes a ton of sense. That's such a cool activity to do.
Really
As
cool.
a sophomore,
Yeah.
I don't know.
It was
if I'd be able
difficult,
to-
but we really did a good job. I probably couldn't do it today. As you could tell, I was a little rusty on my 1815 to 1915 world events. But man, when we were in that material, it was so fun. So if you need something to try, see if you could do pick a class and pick 6 topics and see if you could talk about the interplay between those topics. And
Okay.
I guarantee you'll understand the subject more.
Wow, I love
And
that.
if you can teach it to somebody too, that's even better.
Right.
I think that's the best way to study, is to teach somebody what you're studying,
That makes
because
sense.
you have to articulate it in a way that you can communicate to somebody who doesn't know it, and that makes it easier for you to process it too. Because like you can know a definition, but if you can't like articulate it,
Right.
then it's you don't know it. Like you
Right.
know the words, but maybe you might know it. I don't know it. I could read all day long, but I'm like, okay, I got to talk this out with somebody.
I
So
love that. Yeah, it's a great piece of advice, honestly. Just teaching someone else. But that was, as a sophomore, I don't know. You did it in one class period?
uh, to be fair, it was like an hour and a half class period.
Still,
So
that's, I mean,
we had,
man, that's
we were block
impressive
we
for
were
a group
block
of
schedule we were
sophomores,
block
though.
schedule.
Yes, I know the block schedule. Oh, the pain.
Oh
I do
man,
not miss the block schedule
I
at
like
all.
block more than period though. My middle school was period
Okay.
scheduling, and my high school was block scheduling, and those block schedules were long, but you just had less classes to do, so
Yeah.
you had less work to do.
Yeah. I honestly, that's a pro. You're right. That's a good point. Okay. The other thing I wanted to touch on with GLS is the fact that you are locked in with a cohort.
Mhm.
So two things that I wanted you to talk about is I know this is the emphasis, but could you talk a little bit about that study abroad trip to London?
Yeah.
And then could you tell me a little bit more about how you've gotten along with your cohort and how that dynamic has changed over 2 years, 3 years?
Wow. Okay. Do we want to start study abroad and then get to the
Yeah,
cohort, or do
let's
you
do
want to
it.
start cohort?
Honestly, the cohort's who you were there with, so start with the
Okay,
cohort.
we'll
I'm
start with the
curious about
cohort.
that.
Yeah, so you come in, and the funniest part of the first month is that you slowly find the connection points. Back to connections here. I got your title. You slowly find like, oh, we did this club together, or you know this person that I know, and so you
Mm,
like slowly build out your web. And you get to know these people, and like the first thing you kind of do is you like learn the first dimension of people, which isn't necessarily wrong because it can kind of help you quickly disseminate information and all these things. Like you're like, okay, they sit in the front of the room and they're going to ask a lot of questions. This person's going to sit in the back and they're going to be um, not disengaged, but like they're going to save their questions for afterwards. They're going to
mm-hmm.
ask the professor when class is over. They're not going to talk during class. So you quickly learn, especially because you take classes more than you do social things.
Yep.
You slowly get the social, but you learn like, okay, these are the people I'm in class with, and then you see them all day long, and then you see them on every Friday we do events, and you see them there, and so you like get really used to seeing these people, especially in an academic setting. But then we work hard not to make it exclusively that setting. So then you start learning the other dimensions of people, and that's where it really gets fun. Of like, oh, now I know this about your family, and that's why you do this, or I know this part of what you're interested in, what your career goals are, and that's why you do this. And so you like little by little start learning more about the people, and that's what really sets it up is having that fall semester with people. You really get to like learn your team. It's like a good training camp.
Yeah.
It's a whole semester, but it's
Yeah.
like training camp. So then when you study abroad and you have like you're homesick or you're lost in a different country and don't speak the language or you're all these things, you know how to work with these people. You know how to navigate difficult situations because you've likely already been through them in a class.
Right.
We do a lot of group project stuff anyway in that first semester. So you've had to kind of work through things with people already, and you quickly get to London and continue to do that. Now you live with them, so there's kind of new problems too. It's not
Yep.
just like they bother me in class. It's like they bother me in class and at home, and I can never escape them. But that's not really true. Just such a lovely group of people, and everybody. I love GLS because even though we're all business and we all kind of have that like drive, we all want to do very different things,
Mm,
and so we can be very supportive. We can push and be competitive in that way, but we can be supportive of like we don't have the same goals, so I can encourage you to get your job because it's really not taking my job. You
right.
know? like
Right.
like we're not.
Totally.
And even when they are competing for the same thing, it's well, I want to do it to do this thing, and you want to do it to this, so it kind of bends different directions. And so I think that it's a very collaborative environment as far as like encouraging the others and working together. And then you live with them, and you're like, okay, now I know you really get to know people then.
Yeah.
But it prepares you for all the challenges you face studying abroad, not just in like being in class 6 hours, like back to back, because you take your class. We take one class at a time, but you're in that class for 3 hours in the morning, take a little lunch, and then 3 hours in the afternoon.
Wow. Yeah.
So it's like a lot all at once, and so you kind of get used to that, or like you kind of get used to like, okay, this is going to be a little challenging, and then preparing for an internship for a lot of people, it was the first time they had ever had a job or anything like that, and so um, navigating, okay, what do I look like in a professional setting, and how do I do this, and oh, this maybe ethical thing happened at work, like team was talking about it, what do I think, like what do y'all think, you have other people to bounce stuff off of. And so I think that the community absolutely is what makes the program. If it wasn't for the community, like I said, you can do these things kind of separately, but the community really elevates all the other experiences in it together. And I have a wonderful cohort that has taken care of me. I've tried to take care of them, but I don't know, it's a great job. But we all take care of each other and really lift each other up and are there to support each other. So um, on the study abroad part of it, you took, we kind of like joke, we're like, you got to go to a different country with like your 25 best friends.
Yeah.
And so you go, and we tried to travel pretty much every weekend and see different places
Yeah.
and explore. And then during the week, it was a lot of class work or internship work, but then you had the evenings. And so it was really nice during the internship. During class, you kind of had a little bit of homework, so you couldn't venture too far. But then when you're in the internship, you're like, I clocked out. Like, let's go to the British Museum, or let's go out to eat somewhere, or do whatever. And so there would be like fun little. I mean, you're in a very busy city. I'd argue it's probably like one of the top five busiest cities in the world.
For
So
sure.
there's a lot of motion, a lot of movement, and so there was always something going on. I mean, sometimes it was like 10,000 people riding their bike down the street. One day there was an animal that got loose. It was like
No way.
like a horse got loose, and we were like, "Oh, it's our street." And then one day it was like I remember this because I went to it. It was like the Dune 2 world premiere, and it was in
Wow.
Leicester Square.
No
And
way.
that was like a 8-minute walk from our flat. And so I was like, I walked to the Dune 2 premiere and walked back to my
That's
apartment
so
and did my
cool.
advising meeting afterward.
Oh my
And I
gosh.
got on with my academic advisor. She's like, "Are you ready for the next semester?" I was like, "Yeah." I was like, she's like, "Well, what have you been up to in London?" I was like, "Well, I just went to a movie world premiere." I was like, "I didn't get to see the movie, but I got to see Hans Zimmer and Timothy Chalamet off in the distance." And
So cool.
so you kind of like always had those stuff going on in London, but the all the travel was fun, and I've always been a big traveler. I've been to 49 states.
Oh
So I got
shoot.
one to go, and I'm going at Christmas. We're going to Hawaii.
Oh
So
wow. How exciting.
so like traveling was not new to me, and that part was fun. The thing that I really really loved about studying abroad was not being a tourist. It was being a resident.
Hmm.
I was there for 4.5 months. But to me, I really got to live because I had to do laundry in London.
Yeah.
Like I had to
The
buy
real
groceries.
stuff,
I had to
yeah.
buy groceries in London. I had to go to the not doctor, but I had to go to like get medicine. Like you didn't get to do the. I hate to say, I enjoyed the mundane things that you had to do too, because that was like part of the experience of like what does living somewhere else look like in a different country.
Right.
I'm from Kentucky, and I've gone to school here in Tennessee, so I'm like two not very distant culturally places. And even my time like in Bowling Green versus Knoxville, my life is not drastically different. I maybe don't live at home. I live I live with roommates here, but it's still like I go to Kroger at home and I go to Kroger here. Like
Mm.
it's the same store. I'm
Mm-hmm.
buying the same stuff. There's not really a whole lot of difference in my routine. I buy the same detergent to wash, and then I get over there and it's like, yeah, they don't have Tide. Like we gotta try something else, or we gotta do this, um, or like meals and stuff are different. I'm paying in a different currency,
Right.
um, and they don't have a southern accent, and so I have to make sure I'm speaking in as close to clear American English as I can,
Yeah.
and then hope that I can understand the English as much as I can. And so it like that's a fun challenge, and it was funny because like I didn't realize how many colloquialisms and like folksiness things I say,
Yeah.
because I'm around people that say the same things. And then we get over there with British coworkers, and we give them a hard time about them saying stuff, and they're like, "You said that?" They're like, "You said that?" And I was like, "I didn't think that. I didn't think about that. You wouldn't know a football reference, Like,
Right.
you think I'm making football reference, and that's not the case." Um, but the things I loved most about study abroad were the mundane things. I think that they were the fun things because it was more than just visiting. I think anybody can go visit London, and I would recommend it. It's a great city. But I think like there was something special about living there, and like becoming a part of London almost. I was like
Absolutely.
taking the tube to work.
Yeah.
And
Oh
stuff
my
like that. And
gosh,
so it
that's
was
so
like
cool.
I had some regular spots every Friday. I would stop at the McDonald's and get me like a little breakfast treat. It was my Friday special. My mom used to always do that. We would
Oh, that's cool.
growing up, she had a button in her car. This is made up. It was the Friday donut button,
Uh-huh.
and so it'd be like, oh man, the car pressed the donut button. We have to get up early so we can go to town because we had to drive 10 minutes past the school to get to the gas station to get the donuts because we lived way out in the country, and
Oh.
so we had to drive 15 minutes to school, 15 minutes to town, and then 15 minutes. So it added 30
Yeah.
minutes to our commute. But when the donut button gets pressed,
You can't do anything about
you
it, man.
can't do anything about it. All you can do is get up 30 minutes early and go get donuts. So I was like, little things like that. I got to take a little bit of home, but I got to like repurpose it and like be
Yeah.
like, all right, I'm not getting donuts here. I did get Krispy Kreme one time. It was expensive there. I
Really?
think it's gotten expensive here too, but it was crazy expensive there.
Wow, that's
So I was like,
surprising.
all right, limited my donut
Yeah.
intake. But I got my like the little McDonald's. I don't even remember what it was. It was like almost like a panini, like flatbread, little
Okay.
like egg and cheese thing.
Nice
It
little
was, it was
dessert.
it was really good,
Yeah.
but I was like I worked in my like little thing from home of like, oh, Friday treat just looks a little different now. But
Yeah. Wow, holy crap. There's so much to unpack there too because I didn't realize that I forgot this part that you're taking a class and you've got the internship.
yeah, you take
So that's
three
interesting.
classes.
3 classes.
You take 3 classes. You take a human-centered design class, an international business class, and then macroeconomics.
Okay.
So it's 3 classes, and then it's a 6-week internship.
Okay.
So
On separate timelines. So you do the classes
you
then the
do-
internship or they're both at the same time?
you do class, spring break, internship,
Wow.
and then like
Okay.
internship review. You have like 3 days that we come back, and everybody presents in like 30 minutes on their internship,
Yeah.
and then we wrap it up and fly back home.
That's so crazy.
And-
What a unique experience too. Like that
Oh,
living with people.
if you have the chance to
from your
study
school.
abroad, I would recommend it. And if you can go with, you don't have to go with 25. If you can go with somebody else
Right,
too,
that helps.
you'll have a partner to go places with, and you'll have the really cool experience you get to share with somebody. To me, experiences are better if I can share them. And so I'm like, the fact that I got to go with people to share it with was really, really cool. I think there's a lot of value in doing stuff for yourself too, but I love doing things that I get to share with people. And so I'm like, I have all these fun memories of my time abroad, and I have people that will remember them with me.
Yeah. Oh,
Awesome.
that's so cool. Then the other thing too is, so you would finish your work. Everyone, let me confirm this. So everyone lived in the same place. Yes.
We lived
Or-
in the same flat. So
Okay.
that's building, and it was like apartment building. And so there were 4 rooms, 2 guy rooms and 2 girl rooms.
Okay.
So we were in 90, what do I remember the number? I can't remember what number we were, but we were in one building, and then there were 3 in one building and then 1 in the other building.
Okay.
But they were all connected. Like you could get to them under all the stairs and stuff were under the building, and so you could just
that's
walk. It was
interesting.
like walk hidden paths and
Yeah.
stuff like that. But the building that we lived in was older than the United States.
Are you serious?
Yeah, can you believe that? The building was built in like
Oh my
1720, and they tell us that on the first day. They're like, "Yeah, our building's older than your country." And we're
Just
like,
a little flex
and we're
there.
like, "Well, your island is the size of Michigan." No, we didn't say that, but
Okay, so let's see. So you're in the same flat,
Mm-hmm.
but everyone has a different internship schedule, correct?
uh,
Or is it for the most part you're waking up at the same time? Leaving
so
at the same
it's a little variable. So some people worked at the same person. So like I was fortunate, or disfortunate. I was fortunate. One of my friends, Caleb, was also at the internship with me.
Okay, sweet.
And so we often didn't, because we would kind of wake up at different times, and so we often didn't travel in together. We would always travel home together.
Right.
But we would he would sometimes, we honestly flipped who got up earlier. It wasn't like one of us was early and one of us was late.
Yeah.
It was a good mix of,
Yeah.
sometimes I was going late and sometimes he was going late.
Right.
But we made it work. And then sometimes he would take the bus and I would take the tube, or we would flip, but we'd always catch each other there. But we started at like 9:30 and went till 5:30. Some people started at 8 and went to 4.
Okay.
Some went from 10 to 5. Like everybody had a little bit different. There wasn't one concrete. So you kind of there were like an early shift and a later shift in the morning. And then you had people would get back at different times, and everybody had different commutes too.
Right.
So 2 people could start at 9 but we had a 15, 20 minute commute. And I had one friend who had like an hour 15 commute.
Holy crap.
And so she loved her internship. She did not love her commute
No, I
because
bet.
I was a long time. And so we gave her a hard time. She was probably the most productive person on a commute ever. She did so many LinkedIn learning courses and everything.
Yeah.
I'm like, I would have just listened to music. I'm like, I would have just listened to music and looked out the
Same.
window. But she was so productive. I was like, good for you. I think you probably wear out an hour 15 commute quickly, and you're like, all right, I'm gonna be productive. On
Right.
this. But her and that good old bus out to Hackney, um, and
Wow.
so she always talked about that. And so people like her, they would have to probably get up just as early as the early shift, but then
Mm-hmm.
also would get back later. And so um, everybody had a little bit of a different schedule. But that was the fun thing is we got to like compare and contrast and be like, well, what's it like working where you are and what are you doing? And so you didn't have just one experience. You kind of got to have 20
Right.
because you got to hear a little bit about everybody's. And then at the end, we heard a big presentation of what did you work on? What did you do? You know, who were your colleagues that you were friends with? Who were your enemies? No, I'm kidding. We didn't do that part. But like you got to go through all of it and like really understand. We got to understand what was going on the last 6 weeks. Like what was going on. But
Wow. Okay, that's so cool. But the other thing too is, did you guys, you were already close, right? You had that
mhm.
first semester to build those connections. So when you get to London, is it kind of like everybody finishes up their internship and now you go out as a group, or do you finish up your internship and then you go to dinner with maybe one or two people that you're really close with? What did that relationship
Yeah,
look
I mean
like?
it was fluid. Some days it was 10 to 12. I mean it's hard to get 25 people
It
into a
is.
restaurant. So very rarely we did have a pub that we like regularly went to and
Yeah.
like knew the owners, and we actually bought them a Tennessee pennant.
No way. That's so
And
cool.
some people went back recently and the pennant was still up and like
Wow.
they remembered us and everything like that. And so like we kind of like had a one little spot that we would always go, and like when people's families would visit, they would come and visit. Like that was always the
The
communal
hub.
meeting spot because
Yeah.
our apartment wasn't they just didn't allow guests for security reasons, stuff like that. And so that was the meeting spot of like, if your family comes, we're going to Bricklayers. And so we like always took the room in the back where like we with
Yeah.
the dartboard, you know, like
Nice.
we had a spot there, and that was always fun of just like a big communal spot. And so sometimes it would be like, hey, we'll always like at some point in the evening, not every night, but there was usually a group that would kind of venture there, especially on like the weekends and stuff like that. And so it would kind of be like the meeting spot. Then you could figure out, okay, I'm tired. I'm going back to the flat. Maybe we'll play cards there. Or this group is like, oh, we're gonna go try and find this thing and go to that place. So
Mm-hmm.
it was almost like our we reinvented the third place. You know about
Right.
third places?
No, actually, no.
So third place is it's like you used to have home and work, and then you had the place like every TV show used to be like a third place. Like
Okay.
Friends had the coffee shop,
Yeah.
um, like Cheers was at the bar.
Right.
So it was like the third place. So it was not work, not home, but it was like where you did social things, and that's been a big thing that people often complain about in like city design and architecture today is that we've started limiting the amount of third places that we can do. Like
Mm,
libraries aren't as frequent as they used to be, and then they're not as just like communal as they used to be. Like
right.
there's kind of people that go to libraries and then people that don't, which isn't necessarily right. I think it's a public resource. Everybody should use it. But it used to be this thing of like there was places people went to just hang out
Yeah.
between going home and
Right.
getting off work. And there's been a lot less of that. And so we kind of accidentally or not kind of created a third place
Just
for
so
us,
fun.
which is great because it's a place you can kind of be a little bit more comfortable because you're not at work, but you also aren't like you're not at home. You're out at the town and all this stuff. But that was a cool experience there for us.
Yeah, that's amazing. I mean, the fact that you were able to find a spot like that,
Yeah.
so much fun. And then, honestly, my last question for you on in regards to not just the, we could make it more general, but what was your biggest takeaway from studying abroad? And then, if you had to, what would you say your biggest takeaway is from being in the program? Or you could answer one or the other. I know
Biggest
that's hard.
takeaway from studying abroad. I mean, that's a tough question because you can take it a lot of different ways, and I think that there's so much you can learn studying abroad. I think that that's um, I think that that's part of it is that I almost want to say like there's a lot going on. That's kind of the thing I've learned is that there's, but it's also the same. So things are very different and very similar everywhere you go.
Mm.
People still have routines that they have to get done, work that needs to be accomplished, and like jobs that they need to do to be able to provide for their family.
Mm-hmm.
But then their families might look different, not just in appearance, but just in like form and things like that, or what work is looks different. And so, like I think we probably get a little bit too fixated on the little differences that don't make that big of a deal in the grand scheme of things, and that there's a lot more that we do similarly across the world than there
Mm.
is that we do differently.
Mm.
And so I think that it was fun to kind of see the commonalities. This is going to sound really broad, but the commonalities of the human experience. But like there were some things that I was like, I didn't think about that being universal, but yeah, totally is. And just kind of like everybody's got a commute, everybody's got a job to do. Like
Right.
there's, I think that was fun, and like I enjoyed just learning about the lives that my coworkers, especially like the uh, my cohort mates were fun but I already kind of knew them. But like to me, it was fun meeting people. And when we were there, the big question was always like, if a stranger got in an elevator with you and you were talking to somebody and they were like, "You're American," the big question was like Trump or Biden, because that was like they were fascinated with
Oh, of course.
they
They
were
love our
fascinated with
elections.
American
Yeah.
elections, and we often didn't have a great response for that. 'Cause
Yeah.
we're not trying to get political in this
No.
elevator. So we had one friend who figured out the cheat code to make them laugh. He would just go King Charles, and they'd be like, and they think that's hilarious because then we're like, we all have crazy old men.
Yeah.
Like no matter what, we all have got a crazy old man.
Right.
And so that was the funny thing for us was always just like, just the different like cultural things and like being able to be like, we both went to elementary school, but like that looked very different for some of my English colleagues than it did for us Americans, and
Mm-hmm.
like different things like that. Like I think that was the fun thing of just understanding how we can all kind of end up in the same place, but it maybe took a lot of different ways to get
Oh,
there.
absolutely.
So, and then from the program, um, I think that it's kind of that same idea of the, like we talked about earlier, like the synthesis. I think that it's realizing that a lot of these different business concepts connect. And if you can really understand how things work together,
Mm-hmm.
then you can understand when they're not working together really well and be a problem solver. But you can also understand how to build really cool things too. Um, so I think it goes both ways, but I think that we cover a lot of topics. I mean, we go everywhere from international business to leadership development to, you take your own like subject matter expertise, and then we have a bunch of classes that we take that are in like, uh, we have marketing together, we take supply chain together, and any of those independently teach you a lot. But then when you pull them all together, it's like, okay, what did we really learn in 3 years of being in this program?
Yeah.
And it was like, we just learned how these different pieces all work together. Like we built a giant puzzle. And so now when we find puzzles that are missing pieces, we can put them in there. But we could also like, hey, here's a beautiful art piece. Like I know how to cut this up to make it be an effective puzzle. Like, I know all the things that
Mm-hmm.
come together to put this masterpiece together. So I think that would probably be my biggest takeaway from the program is it, to me, it did the synthesis. It did the connections. It took a lot of the, I know what a business is, and I kind of know what like math is and things like this. And I know how some of these things is, like I know what in theory a supply chain is, but like I would not have been able to tell you how supply chain and marketing connect. And
Right.
now I think I have a fairly good ability to be like, okay, if we do this job here, then this group can do their job, and it's because of this group also doing like how everything in a business goes. So then when I go to internships, I feel prepared to say I'm not just doing my job. I am doing my job, but I'm also understanding. Okay, here's how what I'm doing connects in a broader team aspect, a broader department aspect, and then a
Mm-hmm.
broader company aspect, and then a broader industry aspect. Like you can go all the way up
Right.
of how all of these different layers connect. And so to me, that's the big thing of just figuring out where all those different pieces lie. And you got to do it with some really incredible people. I think that is something I will definitely make sure to keep in the rest of my life. Is like be surrounded by really smart, really driven people. I think that brings out the best in me. It pushes me to continue to be a smart, driven person. And so I think that knowing how things work and then knowing how people work are the two biggest takeaways from the program as a whole. Of just being like, okay, now I know what I got to do to make these different projects work, and then I got to know how my team is going to operate, and like what team do I need? Because you and I probably need different teams because we're different people. We think differently. We approach problems differently. We might be good on a team together, which we are, but we also, if we building teams, we're going to have some people that will be able to help both of us in different ways. Then we'll also have some people that it's like, well, Tyler's got that covered on his own, but Grant needs help on that. And so Grant has to hire somebody to do that job, and Tyler has to hire somebody to do the job that Grant could do. So I think understanding what people can contribute and what jobs have to be done is really valuable in like building good teams in the future.
Wow.
Dang, I'm getting long-winded.
That's incredible. No, that's so much great insight from the GLS program, and that's everything that you touched on is really that's great advice, and it's a great takeaway. Honestly, I never would have thought the synthesis part was going to hit home so much, but
I know we've landed on it.
Really, that's really a great thing to take away.
It's a core Tyler tenet, I guess.
A top 5 strength, if you will.
Yeah.
If you were to
do you know your
invent
5 Clifton strengths?
Yeah, I do.
What are they?
I think you're going to go after, by the way.
Well, I know mine off the top of my head.
Oh, you start.
Significance, strategic, focus, futuristic, competition.
Okay.
In order.
We only share one. Then.
We only share one? What is it?
Your 5th is my first.
It's
so
competition?
I start with competition.
Oh, he's ready to go.
I'm ready to go.
Now, my competition is a lot stronger when we're playing Mario Kart. It really comes out there. I've lost
That's
some.
your passion
I've
game?
lost some friends at Mario Kart. I'm not proud of it, but I did win, so you know.
Hey, so you when it comes down to Rainbow Road, you're locked in.
I'm Ricky Bobby up in there. I watch enough NASCAR. If I'm losing a racing game, something's gone wrong. Somebody else is cheating. Let me say that.
I love that. But yeah, my top 5 is let's see, competitor, inclusive. I know Woo is the 5.
Okay.
Oh no. Achiever.
Lights are too bright.
Achiever.
He's got one more.
Bright.
He's got one more.
Can
he finish it out?
Positivity, maybe?
Positivity? Okay.
Yeah.
I think positivity is like my 6.
Okay.
I used to know my 6, 7, 8, 9, 10.
Wow. 1 through 10 is hard.
But I don't remember them anymore. I locked in on the 5. I really got the 5.
Yeah. It was snappy.
I have them on a name tag. I'm ready to go. Yeah.
Oh, let's go.
So I did a lot of work on my understanding my strengths my freshman year. So they're like ingrained. I probably should retake the test next year when I kind of get out of college and stuff to see if they change. Cool. But I'm like, then I'll have to relearn them. I'm like, I'll never remember them like I remember the 5 right now. But I do think that they've kind of changed a little bit. I don't know if I would say any of the 5 have dropped. I just think I've also picked up some of I think 6 through 10 have also grown a lot. Positivity. Positivity was a kind of a shock to me that wasn't in the top 5 the first time. And so, but it was like number 6. So it's like right there.
It's right there.
But I would probably guess that one would jump up a little bit. If I had to pick one that would drop out, it'd probably be, I don't know, probably focus. Because I kind of jump between a lot of things rather than like one narrow thing. But it probably would still be up there. But I might need to do that, and I'll let you know what the results
you should. I would love to hear how they changed. But I think that positivity for you definitely, I mean, immediately coming in this room, that's what I'm feeling is the positive vibes.
Well, there we go.
And after we talked about you taking everything that you do on a daily basis and turning it into fun, if that's not positivity,
I don't know what is.
I don't know what is.
Yeah.
That should be a top 5 for sure. But to get into the last topic.
Okay.
This one might hit home, it might not, but how do you feel about the general experience at Tennessee? How do you feel about the notion that you will be leaving soon and the takeaways that you've had throughout your time here?
I am very, very grateful, not just for my time, but just for the University of Tennessee.
Yeah.
I felt very poured into. I felt like I've been given everything I need to succeed, and hopefully I've been able to do it justice. I'm hoping that I can, and I'm trying to continue to work and reinvest to make sure that I'm giving out as much as I'm have been given in.
Right.
But I think that this was a fantastic choice for me. UT was the school I wanted to go to from the time I toured it. I grew up a Georgia fan who lived in
Okay.
Kentucky.
Okay.
So either way you slice it, UT was not necessarily a favorable opponent or like
Mm-hmm.
team. But we did a little tour my junior year, and we went to three schools within the state of Tennessee. We saw a small, a medium, and then this was the large. And the biggest takeaway I had from the tour was that it was a big place with big opportunities, but it felt small,
Mm.
and that you could find communities here. And through my experiences, I mean, we went through my resume. Um, I felt like I've been able to take advantage of some really big opportunities here,
Definitely.
from Project Inspire to these programs to like even my part-time job and stuff like that. Like there have been a lot of things that are, oh my goodness, like this is at a big level, and I've been able to just be, even sometimes just distantly orbiting it, but I'm able to like kind of touch it a little bit. I think that that's really cool, and it plays into that strength of like significance for
Mm-hmm.
me, which the significant strengths is all about like the things that you do have meaning,
Mm.
not just to yourself but to others. Like
Mm-hmm.
you're making an impact on people, and so doing big things to me is about being able to make an impact. So the big opportunities, totally checked. Big place, my legs would tell you that that was true because I uh, I didn't pull it, but I didn't sprain it. I just like kind of like weakened my IT band my freshman year because
Ooh.
of the walking. So
Okay.
big place was true,
Right.
but big opportunity is a lot more positive, and that one was true. The doctor wrote on the prescription note like ride the T, take the bus. She literally, I got prescribed to ride the
That
bus,
is insane.
which I think is
I
hilarious.
think that's a
So it was a big place, and it was big opportunities, but the community was small. And through all those things that we've talked about, like GLS
mm.
or Haslam Scholars, or all these other programs, or Project Inspire, or even like classes sometimes, they're small communities. Like I don't have a day that I park at a garage and I walk to class, and before I get to every class, I see at least one person I know. There's 36,000 people that go to this
Yeah.
school, right? Something crazy. It's a
Yeah.
crazy big number like that. The odds that I see somebody every day that I know, I find that kind of just like, man, it is small. Like there's a lot of
Yeah.
people here. There's a lot of stuff going on.
Yeah.
And that's awesome, but it's small. Like you run into the same people. You know the same people. There's not really a class that I take where there's not at least one person I've had a class with before that I'm like, hey friend, like we're back together. It's
Right.
like a little reunion every time. That's my favorite part of the first day of schools. Um, and so even though it's a big place, it's got big opportunities, it's very small. So what I felt like was the mission, or the not even the mission, but like the promise to me as a student
Mm.
from that tour, and why I was so interested in Tennessee, has been fully held up through my experience here. So the value prop that the university gave me has been fully fulfilled. And
Which is
so
incredible.
so for me, I'm like, I wouldn't trade my experience for the world. I feel like I've been able to maximize everything I was going to get from it, um, as best as I can, and I'm excited to move on to other things, but I will really cherish my time here.
Yeah, I think you made it's incredible to see someone who really did make the most of their experience, and that's something that I look up to. So
Well, thank you.
that's you.
I mean,
You are a great example for
it,
what the university
but
embodies.
well, appreciate that. But you can't do it all in one day.
I know.
And I think that's the hardest part is I got to like I was bright-eyed bushy-tailed my freshman year and was like, oh, I'm gonna do everything, and like tried to join 500,000 clubs and tried to do this, and quickly I realized I can't do all of it.
Right.
And I found a couple places that I could really invest in, and really like. Um, I was a Boy Scout growing up.
Okay. Yeah.
I didn't not an Eagle Scout or anything like that, but just I remember the principles of like, um, not just leave no trace, but like leave things better than you found it. I was like, I need to pick a couple places that I can leave better than I found it, and so I found a couple core groups a couple core programs that I could be like, okay, this group is giving me a lot. I'm really getting a lot of value from it. So now I'm going to return that
Mm.
and go. So like Project Inspire, I'm like, okay, how am I going to help everybody else be as successful as they can when I'm gone and when others at my age are gone? You know, like how can we keep this thing going? Because
Right.
it was so good to us. Like we gotta share that with others. Um, and so I think that that's become the big part of like that was the reshape of my focus was like it's you can do like it's fun to like say, oh, I've done this, but you didn't do them all at the same time, but you built on them, you know.
Right. I love that. And I'm also curious if there was, one thing or one experience you're going to miss the most, would you be able to pinpoint that
Oh,
time or a memory?
well, I've I I've talked a lot about how awesome people are. Oh, I don't really want to cheap it out like this. No, I'm going to.
Let's go.
I'm gonna go for it. Uh, People here are fantastic. I think I've got a lot academically, but one of the fun things is just the experience of like sports as a college student.
Mm.
Um, Something about like these are my these are my classmates. You know, like this is my like I'm a part of this identity right now. I'm in the student section.
Yeah.
I'm not with the high rolling adults
Yeah.
out here. I'm in the student section. Like being there for some really major football games, win or lose. Like that, I'll remember. I will always remember last year's basketball season. I'll
Yeah.
remember the Dalton Connect years too, but that was also when I studied abroad. So that one I didn't watch as many games. But like last year specifically, I got to work a lot of those games. The Tennessee Alabama game that had the Jemai Mashak 3.
Yes. Oh my.
I was working the broadcast for that game, and it was on ESPN. And the last replay of his shot going out of the show was my replay.
That's unreal.
And so, like, I'm always like, for someone out there who watched that broadcast, like, I got to be a part of their experience of Tennessee. And,
Yeah.
like, I didn't make the shot. I could not make that shot. Um, but, like, there's always a part of me that's going to be attached to that.
Mm.
They won't never know that. And that doesn't matter. I don't have to be known for being part of that. But to me, like, that's cool to, like, see things around and be like, I was part of that.
Yeah.
Like, when I see pictures of not the second one, that was a bad idea, but the first Tennessee Alabama Storm Rush,
Right.
I get to be like, I went on that field. And my buddy lost his shoe that night. And I had another buddy who came back to the dorm that year, because that was my freshman year, with part of the field goal post
No
around his
way.
neck. He had cut it out
What?
into like a thing and was hanging around his neck. And we're like, that's cool. So it was like stuff like that. Like I'm like, okay, that's like a core part of like Tennessee football history in the
Yeah.
last 5 years. And I was like, I got to see it, and then like people talk about people rushing on the field with that. I was like, that was me. Like I was.
You were there,
I was in the
dude.
group. Yeah. And now we're the seniors, and so you all are like, oh, y'all got to be part of the cool experiences. The older classes, when we came, were all like, how dare you think you can take credit for this? Like we had to go through the bad years
Yeah.
of football. They were always there was always like a little bit of jealousy. Like
Yeah.
you didn't struggle. Like you don't deserve to celebrate the wins as much. And now we've had a good football year every year I've been here. And so I'm like, yeah, everybody gets to enjoy football.
Everybody
Like let's just
eats.
go. Like I've never had a bad year, but even the year before me, they went 7-6.
Mm.
And so like even they're like, yeah, we had one struggle year and then we're good. But I'm like, okay,
All I know
I'll
is
take 9-3 as the worst. Like I've enjoyed like the sports aspect of it, and I'll still watch and keep up with games as I graduate. But there's something special about like going to games as a student that I really enjoy.
I love that emphasis because that's I think part of the reason why I'm here too, and a lot of students are here is for that athletic piece. So I think that's really a significant part
Yeah,
of the school.
and there's so much more to the experience than that. But to me, that's like something really, really cool that I'm like, yeah, that is gonna think. Like I think you can, like I said, I want to learn everywhere.
Yeah.
So I'm like, it was important to learn a lot of things here, but I'm like, ooh, there's not a whole lot of places like Neyland or TPA. Like those are
absolutely
those
not.
are special venues to watch some
They
sports.
really are.
So
Okay, well let's kind of go to I don't know. I have two questions for you. The first one is we kind of touched on it, but what is next for you? And as you're wrapping up, that might be a hard one, but as you're wrapping up, what's next? What do you think is the next step for yourself if you had to predict it?
Oh, predicting the next step. Wouldn't I like to know that?
Yeah.
Um, next step. I we kind of talked about this earlier of like what's the first job, and to me, I don't really have a first like a dream first job,
Mm-hmm.
and so I think it's about just figuring out what my options are for next year when I graduate, whether that's a grad school um, or going straight to the workforce. I think it's just knowing the options and then getting down to it and deciding, okay, like what's going to be the best one at this moment.
Mm,
Um, Life changes kind of quickly, so you never really know where we'll be come May.
right.
For all I know, I could be, I don't know, working for NASA or something.
You really could.
That'd be cool if NASA
You've
wants.
already got the skills, is what it sounds like.
Dude, I'd love to work at NASA. That was my dream as a kid was to be either
That's
an
awesome.
astronaut or an animator, and so
Okay.
I could just go animate astronauts.
That would be
That's-
awesome.
yeah,
A
that'd be-
combination of
But
both.
I don't know. I don't know what the future holds, and so I will be prepared to seize opportunities, but
Mhm.
I might not necessarily know what they are. And so I think coming into it right now, my big focus is just like applying for jobs and seeing what's out there, continuing to make good connections, and then really kind of making sure that I've got my story straight to be able to articulate that to an employer. I also, like I said, I have an entrepreneurship, so I'm like, if the right idea comes and it's something I think I could pursue, like I would be really excited to take that.
Yeah.
I don't want to just do entrepreneurship for the sake of it. I want to go with the right idea and like an actual good business model and everything like that. So, um, not necessarily waiting for the right time because I think that it's a pretty good time right now with not as many responsibilities as I hope to have later in life. But I think it's waiting for the right project. Like this is the one I want to try. Like
Right.
this is the one that's might work a little bit better. And I mean entrepreneurs like every 1 in 7 businesses fail regardless of the entrepreneurship because it's mostly down to timing and stuff like that. So I'm like it ain't gonna be perfect, but if it's good enough that I could be like this has got a good chance of being the 1 in 7 or even like just being a great learning, like if that's the best way for me to learn, then
Right.
I'll follow that. So I don't have a concrete next step. That's it's kind of difficult to start. It's like that part I still have to kind of not rationalize but like not even justify, just kind of like process for myself of like
Yeah.
I don't really know what's next, but at this point I'm not panicked yet.
You shouldn't be.
Maybe ask me in like April. I might be like, "Hey, it's time to That's time to put some gas on the fire." But for now, it's kind of like, yeah, I'll see what's out there and see what opportunities arise, and I'll take the one that's best for that.
Well, I also think that, no matter what happens, you have the skill set to land yourself in a lot of great places. So even if it comes April and you don't know what you want to do, you already know this, but you already have the skills to go into a lot of different things. So
Well,
that's
thank you.
important too. But we've had a lot of people come in the room in the last few minutes trying to get in here.
It's
let's
popular. They're trying to listen.
I know.
I think that they're like.
they're the live audience.
I think it's the live audience.
Oh, like why are they like coming?
Yeah, you might think that they're just coming for the room, but I would argue it's
Yeah.
live audience. I
Oh,
think
I love that.
I think they're like these guys are cooking.
Yeah, they are. A lot of great thoughts being spilled here.
I know.
Last question for you, and for this episode this week is, what advice do you have for someone who's an underclassman, someone who's just going through school right now, maybe not even at the University of Tennessee, but what perspective can you give after 3, almost 4 years here at this university? What advice would you give to students?
About being a student or just life advice in general?
Yeah, let me phrase it a little bit better. What advice would you give them so that by the end of their senior year, they feel like they truly like took everything they could from the college experience?
From their experience.
Mhm.
Yeah. I think that the best way to take is to give. And so I think if you can find places to give your time, maybe not give your money because you're a college student, but give your time, give your focus, and give your attention, and give your effort. If you can find a couple places, and that might be the classroom, it might be a club, it could be your job, it could be your faith group. There's a lot of different ways that you can do it, but I think there's a lot of value in being of service to something that's outside of your own personal gain and working toward some group or collective thing. And I think that I've been able to get a lot out of my groups because I try and put a lot in. I'm not going to say it's perfect and that I am the best at, you know, at being a good friend or a good teammate or anything like that. But I can be my best at giving my time. I can give my attention to my focus, and I can give my care and effort. And so I think if you can find ways to invest in others, it'll pay dividends to you. There's an idea from Scott Galloway, and he talks about the idea of surplus value, and that's something I really kind of attached to the last couple of years of um, from the ages of 0 to 18, you have a deficit value because everybody is investing in you and they're really not asking anything of you
Right.
because you're a kid. You're being given rides to school. You're being given an education at school. You're being given food and shelter by your parents. You're being given all these things. And I'm not saying that's wrong that every kid at age 2 needs to start a business and fend for themselves. That's not the argument I'm trying to make. Because the argument he makes is that we spend a lot of our first couple years in this take mode,
Mm.
and that we're constantly being invested in. But as we get older, our mentality has to shape, um, and that we can continue to take things because we all do. I mean, we take programs from the government, or we take knowledge from others that are around us, and we find resources and stuff like that. And so there's always some level of things that you're taking from the environment around you. But a good man and a good person, but he specifically tries to talk to young men. And he says that a good man provides surplus value
Mm-hmm.
to the people in their life.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's something that I have tried to, as I'm like kind of growing into trying to be an adult man, I've been trying to focus on like, how can I be of surplus value for people around me? And sometimes it's like really simple things, like maybe it's a smile, and it's like just trying to like bright or like a really bad dad joke, which I'm very good at, to like brighten somebody's day. Or it could be like, hey, I'm gonna help you on this. Like it doesn't it let it be your strengths. Like don't it doesn't fit in a box. It's whatever you are best at doing that helps other people. And so it's like slowly and slowly you should get to a point where you're creating surplus value for your community, your family, and the world rather than being at a deficit value.
I
And
love that.
so I think that that's something, if you can get to that point, I mean, even like selfishly, sometimes helping others feels good. Like you feel good about
Yeah.
yourself. I think it's great to do it for non-selfish reasons because it's a higher order of things, thinking of like we're able to help other people and do these things. But I think even at that, even if you can't get all the way there and you're just like, I, you know, I'm just trying to do what's best for me. It's like, well, you feel pretty good when you help other people. So,
Right.
um, I think that finding ways to invest in others and like that's something I've tried to do, especially my junior and senior year. It's like, okay, I've got my couple groups, and now like, how can I maximize the experience that younger people are going to have? So like Project Inspire, I'm always trying to think about, okay, how can I make sure that like the new people that we brought in are welcomed and feel equipped to do this and can like share to others that like this is a fun thing to do. Um, and so like, how can I instill? Because I had some great people invest in me my freshman and sophomore year that really helped me be comfortable at Tennessee and get involved and connected to all these things. And so I think back, I'm like, man, where would I have been without those? Without it was specifically guys, but like just those people. And so I'm like, okay, if I can be that person for somebody else, I absolutely have to do that. And so that's why I will move things on my calendar to help invest in people. Um, like I will make things work to take care of other people because I think that's what we're kind of called to do is to take care of others. So I think my biggest advice there, kind of tying it full circle here, bringing it back. I think if you can find ways to continue to gain knowledge and continue to learn, but then find how you can invest that back into others,
Mm.
I think that's when you set yourself up for a very happy and fulfilling life.
So well said. That is absolutely
It's
beautiful.
not my words.
You made them your words. Now they are. But that truly is powerful, and I think that is a great message to end this episode with.
Yeah.
I just want to thank you so much for coming on
Well,
and
thank
sharing.
you for having me. I've had a blast being here. It's great spending time with you, of course, and I really appreciate you asking me. I've had a blast coming and talking with you and hearing about your side.
Yeah.
Hopefully, not rambling too much, but hopefully you got some value, or whoever listens gets some value from what I had to say. So I appreciate you wanting to share my experiences and learn more.
Yeah, I think not only was this a great way for them to hear your story, but for me to hear your story. And I think that was long overdue, because I sit in a conference room next to you and I'm like, I need to know about this guy.
This
man.
guy is weird.
Gotta go.
What is going on?
He got a lot going on.
What is going on in his head?
But man, thank you so much for taking the time, and I really appreciate you.
Well, thank you.
With that being said, that concludes another episode of Granted. Thank you so much for everybody that made it this far. We were an hour 20 in, so
Woo,
you
we're
know,
doing good.
shout out
What's
to them.
your average episode length?
Oh, probably around an hour.
Around an hour?
Yeah, we're over. You know.
Okay, we'll take
we
it.
took more time as needed. But yeah, that concludes
you for
another
sticking
episode
around,
of Granted. We're Audi 5000. Peace.
Hey, if you made it this far, you know
Yep.
what you should do?
What's that? Oh, you should subscribe.
You should subscribe, you should like, and you should hit the bell.
And you should comment.
And you should comment. I've heard that hitting the bell makes sure that you get notified every
right.
time there's a new episode of Granted.
That's right.
So not only is it good for Grant, it's good for you because you get to watch more episodes.
That's right.
So the rumor has it that if you hit the bell, you'll have good luck for the next week.
And also, if you want to talk about giving back, why don't you go
You
ahead
should
and give
give
back?
Subscribe.
Give
and
a
like.
subscription.
Yeah,
all
there we
right?
go. So
But yeah, with that being said, thank you guys again for listening. We're Audi 5000. Peace.